down, I'm on a high right now. I'm living my best life and y'all can't take that from me. And the Z is high, well. Gaining a lot of limelight on social media, this is Gypsy Rose Blanchanrd, recently released from prison on December 28, 2023. With multiple documentaries and a TV series made about her, Gypsy has become the face of one of the most disturbing true crime cases in the history of the U.S. But who is she really? Why did she go to prison? Did she deserve to go to prison? Looking at her now, you'd hardly recognize the sick little girl she once was, or the sick little girl she was forced to be. Born July 27, 1991, Gypsy Rose Blanchanrd was born as a beautiful, healthy baby, but as she grew up, her adolescence became riddled with various illnesses. According to Rod Blanchanrd, when Gypsy was just a baby, Dee Dee told him that she was suffering from sleep apnea and needed a heart monitor. Dee Dee told me that she started having seizures and sleep apnea. As Gypsy grew older and older, so did the list of her illnesses. Around the age of 5, Gypsy got muscular dystrophy and had to use a wheelchair to get around. Later on, she also got a feeding tube. Soon after, she got hearing and vision impairment, leukemia, epilepsy along with mental retardation. Dee Dee told everyone that Gypsy had the mind of a child. This helped Dee Dee and Gypsy garner the heartfelt sympathies of their local community. They would receive funding for medical support, trips to Disneyland, and conferences all over the country. They had achieved somewhat of a celebrity status and would get financial support from multiple charities and fundraisers. Gypsy even rubbed shoulders with many A-list celebrities. It was as if everyone's heart broke seeing a little girl ridden with so many diseases. But this didn't affect her spirit at all. In every photo she seemed to be smiling, displaying her happy-go-lucky nature, despite the mountain of medical ailments she had to deal with on a daily basis. Little did everyone know that this smile was just a facade behind which a helpless girl was trapped, waiting to be freed. That's right. Dee Dee tried her best to keep presenting Gypsy as a frail little girl, dressing her up in princess dresses. But Gypsy desperately wanted to break free from that mold. One thing that Gypsy knew for a fact was that she could walk without a wheelchair and did not need a feeding tube. As a child, she would ask her mother multiple times why she had to use the wheelchair when she could walk. But her mom told her that her muscles weren't strong enough and forced her to use the wheelchair. To keep up this facade, Dee Dee would force her daughter to stay still and not move her legs, while Mommy Dearest did all the talking with the doctors. Hurricane Katrina destroyed their home in 2005. With the help of Habitat for Humanity and the support of public donations, they were given a new home in Springfield, Missouri. The mother and daughter were both overjoyed to get their new home. It had been specially designed for someone with disabilities. A ramp was made so that the entrance could be accessed by someone on a wheelchair. Even the doors inside were wide enough just for Gypsy's wheelchair. Dee Dee had successfully fooled the medical system, taking advantage of the kindness of friends and neighbors. Her carefully designed web of lies was truly a masterclass in deception, or it was years before we found out that, she didn't have leukemia. That wasn't true. That all it was the lie. But the question is, why would Dee Dee force her daughter to go through such needlessly painful surgeries and medication? We do know that Dee Dee was suffering from Munchausen syndrome by proxy, a psychological disorder where a caregiver exaggerates or manipulates the illness of another person in order to gain unnecessary medical attention. But what would cause Dee Dee to abuse her daughter in such a manner? And how did she manage to get away with it for more than 2 decades? If we take a look at the dynamics of the Peter family and the environment Dee Dee grew up in, it would be easier to understand why she grew up to be an abusive mother. Dee Dee was born on May 3, 1967, in Golden Meadow, Louisiana. Her parents were Emma Lois Gisclair and Claude Anthony Peter. She was the youngest of 6 children, and according to her siblings, was heavily favored by their mother. She had 3 older brothers and 2 older sisters. According to her brother Evans Peter, it seemed as if Dee Dee craved attention ever since she was young. She wanted to be in the limelight and tried hard to be different from others. Growing up, Dee Dee herself was a sick child. According to her siblings, Dee Dee had various illnesses like heart murmur, when she was just a baby. It's interesting to note that Dee Dee recreated the same childhood with Gypsy as the one her mother gave her. Dee Dee's mother, Emma, would often pamper her and was very overprotective of her. She would let the other kids play outside, but not Dee Dee. She wasn't allowed to be like other kids. She couldn't play outside, exert herself, or wear herself out. Much to the annoyance of her siblings, Dee Dee was treated like a princess and didn't even have to partake in the household chores. Dee Dee could use her sickness as an excuse whenever she wanted. Her siblings could easily observe that their sister wasn't as sick as their mother wanted her to be. It seemed as if Emma did not want her youngest child to grow up. She would coddle, smother her, and treat her like a baby. While the rest of the siblings slept in their own rooms, young Dee Dee slept next to her mother. They were way more close than a normal mother-daughter should be. As Dee Dee grew older, she continued to enjoy her status as the favorite child. She was the only one out of the 6 siblings who went to college and even got a car. While Dee Dee got what she asked for, her siblings had to work hard for these privileges. As mentioned earlier, Dee Dee loved getting attention, so she signed up for different beauty pageants. This wish, like many others, was also fulfilled by her parents, who showered her with dresses and accessories. For some time she had also worked as a nurse's aide. This helped her gain a sound knowledge of faking illnesses and symptoms, making her the perfect candidate for Munchausen by proxy. Munchausen by proxy perpetrators go to the ends of the earth to maintain the charade of having a sick child. Other than forcing Gypsy to act sick, Dee Dee was also an accomplished fraudster. She had successfully scammed people out of their money by starting fundraisers and charities in Gypsy's name. She even changed Gypsy's birth certificate from 1991 to 1995. This was done in order to present Gypsy as an infantilized little girl, heavily dependent on her mother. But this wasn't the first time Dee Dee had gotten in trouble with the law. According to her sister, Dee Dee was a frequent shoplifter, wrote fake checks, and stole a lot of money from people, and run up the bills like crazy. She was gonna do anything, anyway, anyhow, to get her way. All of this, combined, really altered my view of Dee Dee. Her siblings also stated that when Emma, their mother, got sick, it was Dee Dee who took care of her. Her sister relays how Dee Dee would starve their mother and was an accomplice in her death. Their stepmother Laura also accused Dee Dee of trying to poison her. Her family hated her so much that they didn't even want her ashes and flushed them down the toilet. Rod met Dee Dee at a bowling alley when he was just 17. He seemed quite taken with the curly-haired girl who looked a little different from the usual crowd. At that time, Dee Dee had been hiding her age. They met up again, and soon after began officially dating. After some time, Dee Dee got pregnant. Rod, being the honorable person, proposed to her immediately. So at the young age of 17, Rod Blanchanrd got married to 24-year-old Claudine Peter. At first, Claudine proved to be the typical perfect Southern wife and was a generous partner. But the marriage didn't work out, as Rod felt that they got married for the wrong reasons. He woke up on his 18th birthday, realizing that he had made the wrong decision. So after just 3 months of marriage, the two parted ways forever. According to him, Dee Dee was into dark stuff like witchcraft, and even had a pet tarantula. After Gypsy's birth, Dee Dee became a very overprotective mother. She wouldn't let anyone else babysit her. Even Rod, her own father, was never left alone with his daughter. Dee Dee just had to supervise her at all times. On the outside, everyone thought that Dee Dee was a kind and caring mother. So Rod thought that even though it didn't work out between them, Dee Dee was still the best mother anyone could ask for. Dee Dee started taking care of Gypsy 24/7. She would inform Rod about fake medical ailments, tests, and medication that their daughter needed. Rod, being the dutiful father, consistently paid her child support and alimony. He took great responsibility for his daughter's medical expenses. When Rod started asking more questions about Gypsy's illness, Dee Dee decided to move to Thibodeau, which is quite far away. It's important to note that this was probably part of Dee Dee's plan. The only way she could hide her lies was if she isolated Gypsy from anyone who could get suspicious. So Dee Dee kept putting more distance between Gypsy and her father, and moved farther and farther away. It seemed very clear that Dee Dee did not want their relationship to deepen. She wanted to be the sole caregiver of her daughter. As Gypsy grew older, her mother began planting terrible things in Gypsy's mind to turn her against Rod. When the duo relocated to Missouri after Hurricane Katrina, it became even harder for Rod to keep up a good relationship with Gypsy. Rod feared that if he raised any serious concerns, Dee Dee might sever all connections with him. However, Rod now regrets not being more present in his daughter's life. He feels as if he failed to protect Gypsy. But he's not the only one who feels this way. Dee Dee brought Gypsy to the pediatric neurologist in August 2007. This was Dr. Bernardo Flasterstein. By this time, of course, the best excuse Dee Dee gave for not having Gypsy's medical records was the fact that the hurricane had happened. Dee Dee said that her daughter's medical records had gotten lost during the chaos of relocating to Missouri. Dr. Bernardo noted that the mother was answering all the questions while Gypsy remained silent. Dee Dee began detailing the list of her daughter's illnesses, which Dr. Bernardo had no choice but to trust. However, one thing that the doctor noticed was that the volume of Gypsy's muscles as well as her reflexes were quite normal. Of the spine to see if there could be anything that I'm missing. That was completely normal. The MRI came out completely normal. Dr. Bernardo couldn't find a single reason why Gypsy couldn't just get up and walk. But Dee Dee remained adamant that Gypsy could not walk. It seems she realized there was nothing she could do to prove the supposed muscular dystrophy. So Dee Dee never went back to Dr. Flasterstein again. This made him suspicious of Dee Dee's intentions. So my duty was to tell the pediatrician in my report. The pediatric neurologist who raised the notion of Munchausen-by had Dr. Bernard claims that he needed more information in order to report Dee Dee to Child Protective Services. But like many others, he did not take a stand, hence failing to protect Gypsy. As Gypsy started growing older, she craved more independence. She felt as if she was being suffocated by Dee Dee. Gypsy narrates that she would ask her mother if they could try removing the feeding tube or getting some physical therapy for her legs, but Dee Dee outright refused. One day Gypsy found a medical card which stated her birth year is 1991 instead of 1994. So at that time, Gypsy was 19 instead of 15. This meant that Gypsy was a legal adult who could go about as she wished, something Dee Dee didn't want. Gypsy hatched a plan to escape. She met an older guy at a sci-fi convention. A 36-year-old guy who she thought could help her get away from Dee Dee, so she ran away with him. But this escape was sadly short-lived as her mother soon found her and brought her back home. Dee Dee was furious. After learning that Gypsy had run away with a friend, her computer was smashed and she was chained to her bed. Dee Dee even went as far as covering up the bedroom windows so no one could see inside. Her actions gave a whole new meaning to the word house arrest. Poor Gypsy would only be unchained when she had to go to the bathroom. For about 2 weeks, Gypsy sustained her mother's cruelty. She was verbally abused, beaten, and starved. All Gypsy wanted was to live a normal life like any other girl, but she knew that as long as her mother was alive, that dream could never turn into reality. A few years later, Gypsy made a profile on the dating website, ChristianDating.com. It was here where she met her soon-to-be boyfriend, Nicholas Gottajohn, in October of 2012. Gypsy was desperate for an escape from life, and she found one, online in Nicholas. She felt as if he was the only one who accepted her, despite her flaws. She felt that she could be herself as Nick accepted her. When Gypsy They had previously discussed purchasing duct tape and knives and how they would plan on killing Dee Dee. Gypsy even made a video of the house for Nick to make sure that he was familiar with the layout. On June 9th, the day of the murder, Gypsy and her mom had gone to the grocery store. Upon coming back, they shared a heartfelt mother-daughter moment and painted each other's nails. They had fought earlier and had just made up. Dee Dee said she felt relaxed as she drifted off to sleep. Gypsy stated that she promised to be a good girl. The last words Dee Dee said to Gypsy were, "Don't hurt me," which is sadly ironic as the opposite was going to happen very soon. When Nicholas arrived at their residence, Gypsy had already placed gloves for him outside. She gave him a knife and duct tape. Then she hid in her bathroom and covered her ears, sitting in a fetal position. Then she heard her mother wake up and call out for help.
I heard her say my name a couple times. And she said, "Help me." And then there was just silence.
Did she scream?
Yeah.
But Gypsy covered her ears, pretending to not hear her blood-curdling screams, her mother calling out her name, begging for help. Nick stabbed Dee Dee a total of 17 times. Gypsy later states that it was a horrible experience listening to the screams. She said she wanted it to stop, but was simply too afraid to go out and help her. After some time, the screams stopped, and that's when Nick came into the bathroom, holding the bloody knife. Gypsy cleaned up the drops of blood that had fallen in the hallway. They also stole a sizable chunk of money from Dee Dee's room. After this, he and Gypsy had sex, while Dee Dee's body lay in the bedroom next door. According to Gypsy, the sex was consensual, but Gypsy says it wasn't. Afterwards, the duo packed their stuff and went to the motel Gypsy was staying at. "Hi, honey. I'm here if I am. Keep off. He's eating a brownie. But later he will be eating me." From the motel, they mailed the murder weapon to Nick's home in Wisconsin. Gypsy's parents had no clue about the contents of the mysterious package that arrived at their doorstep. After staying at the hotel for a few days, they went to stay with Nick's mom and stepfather. By now it had been a few days since anyone had seen Dee Dee or Gypsy. Their friends and neighbors had gotten a bit worried. Gypsy stated that she wanted her mom's body to be found so that the authorities could give her a proper burial. That's when she logged into the Facebook account that both she and her mother shared, and posted a series of messages that would raise concerns for the family's well-being. Friends of the family were quite disturbed when they read the violently disturbing nature of these Facebook messages. The scenario where she was raped is just perverse. It implies a fair degree of sociopathy. I just stuck at the way the girl acted. Dee Dee and Gypsy were not the sort to play jokes or pranks, and since nobody had heard from them in a while, their friends reported this incident to the police. The police decided to do a welfare check. Dave Blanchanrd, a close friend of the family, was the first person who entered the house through a window. He looked around, but saw no sign of the mother and daughter. At this time, Dee Dee's body was inside the house, but Dave did not see it. Seeing that the house was seemingly untouched, and all three of Gypsy's wheelchairs were still inside the house, he reported back to the police. The police thought that both mother and daughter were missing, but on June 14th they found Dee Dee's slain body inside the house, which Dave had missed, perhaps thankfully. The police traced the IP address of the Facebook post to Gypsy's mother's home in Wisconsin. One morning the Bonnie and Clyde duo woke up to the sound of police. They were taken into custody by June 15, 2015. The couple consoled each other and decided to stick together. However, upon interrogation, they gave opposing statements. Gypsy appears to act shocked upon hearing her mother is dead, even though she was an accomplice through and through. On the other hand, Gypsy shifts the entire blame of the murder on Gypsy. Friends of the famous mother and daughter were shocked to learn about the details that unfolded during the trial. The intricate web of lies, manipulation, and financial fraud that was uncovered captivated the whole nation. To escape the possibility of life in prison, Gypsy agreed to plead guilty to second-degree murder in July of 2016. She got 10 years with the possibility of early parole. The defense also took into account the medical trauma, psychological and physical abuse that Gypsy endured for more than 2 decades. But people still questioned the violent extent of Gypsy's actions. Her boyfriend, on the other hand, got life in prison for his crimes. Gypsy details that her days in prison were some of the happiest days of her life. For once in her life, she felt truly free. The best memory that I have in my entire life is the day that I got to prison. And I got to go out to the picnic tables. And I'm like, I'm free. I'm free to have friends. I'm free to do what I want. I might be in a controlled environment, but this is nice. She also started taking part in girly activities like learning how to do her hair and makeup. It seems as if she finally got the freedom she craved for so long. During prison, many men wrote to Gypsy, but there was only one that stood out to her in particular. To the surprise of Ryan Anderson, Gypsy sent him an email back. Ryan is a middle school special education teacher. The two began writing to each other regularly, and soon developed an intimate relationship. They got married in August of 2022. Gypsy got free on December 28, 2023. She said that one of the first things on her list was to consummate her marriage with Anderson. After that, Gypsy spent some time with her dad, stepmother Christy, and half-siblings. It seemed as if Gypsy finally got the happy ending she craved all her life. But to this day, Gypsy still regrets her actions. She says that she didn't want to kill her mother. She just wanted to be free and have a normal life. She says that her relationship with her mother was complicated, but it doesn't change the fact that she loved her and still misses her. But regardless of all of that, I still love her and I still miss her. She was my mother. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed, please like this video, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any more true crime videos. Stay safe out there.